Okay, so this is a quick little demo about cleaning your instrument. You will have a checklist that goes through each of these steps, but I just want to take a minute to show you what that actually looks like. In the first step, you're supposed to grab a basket and a tub to put your valves in. You're going to take all the pieces apart. So if you can see in here, I've got all my slides, I've got my mouthpiece, I've got my valve caps, so I've completely kind of gutted my instrument here. The valves need to go separately in another tub because we don't want those getting soaked and wet. You're then going to go to the sink and get some sudsy water in a bucket. You can see here. And the tub of all the slides and things is going to go directly into that bucket to soak. You're then going to get a cup or something and get the sudsy water and pour through all the little bits that you can in the main instrument, down the valve, and so forth. You're then going to take, this is the snake that's talked about on the checklist. It's very long, springy, with a little bit on the end for cleaning. This is going to go through all of the tubing, and you're just going to do a little scrubby scrub. All right? As far as you can in every single little tube on the instrument. And notice I'm not taking a huge amount of time on all of these, but I do want to make sure you get all the crud out of there. And if something gets kind of stuck, like this is right now, make sure you come and see Miss Waters or I to help you get it out of there so that you don't end up breaking something. All right, you can even go down through the bell as well, down through the mouthpiece hole, especially down through the lead. We call this the lead pipe. Down through the mouthpiece hole. That's probably going to be where you need the most scrubbing because that's going to be the dirtiest area. To get the valves, you might want to grab one of the brushes that are a little bit wider and just gentle scrub down each of those. All right, and you might want to go from the bottom as well to get all that gunk and goo out of there. You also are going to want to take one of the toothbrushes and go around the edges where the valve caps were. These little grooves tend to get really gross. So make sure you get those cleaned out really well also on both ends. And the other section you want to do with the toothbrush is the actual valve caps. These get really gross in the bottom, so the toothbrush works the best to try and get all that stuff out of there. You're going to use the snake also on all the little bits that you had in the basket. So you're going to take each one of those out and scrubby scrub through each one of those as well. Every piece. The mouthpiece, because it has a smaller hole, you may need to find a smaller brush to go through there. And again, through both ends and get all the gunk and goo out of there. You also are going to want to get a paper towel or even just your hands and one of the sponges, a washcloth, and wipe off where all the slide grease was because that will be gross as well. And just make sure you can't see any gunk and goo on any of it. Once you're finished with that, you can then take the valves. All the valves have this little bit here that is the felt. We don't want that getting all soaking wet or they just kind of start to disintegrate. So I'm kind of pushing that up out of the way and I'm just going to hold it up there. And I'm going to take sponge or washcloth and I'm simply going to wipe the valves off. And I want to get my brush to go through. You can use a snake as well. And go through all the holes on each of the valves as well. When you're done with the valves, you can rinse them off. And again, wipe and make sure all the grease and goo is off of them. Make sure the bottoms are clean. All right, and you can put them back into their tub. Everything else you can take out of the soapy bucket, and you're going to rinse everything. Okay, and you can do this all at the sink. Make sure you rinse really well so there's no soapy water bubblies coming out. Again, down every one of the little tubes, through the valve casing, down the bell, and just make sure you get everything nice and rinsed out. Same thing with all the pieces. You're going to want to make sure that it all gets rinsed clean and there's no sudsy water coming through there. So everything is rinsed off nice and neat. Okay. At that point, you're going to grab a towel and get out of the way of the sink so that other people can get in there. You're going to take your towel and just simply wipe off the outside of everything so that there's not big watermarks. So you'll wipe off the outside of the trumpet itself. You'll wipe off all of the bits and pieces. You can dry off the valves. And once everything's dry, it's okay to go ahead and put the valves into the basket with everything else. The basket and the instrument and your checklist are then going to go into the Sousa room to sit and drip dry overnight because there's water inside here that we'll need to get out of there before we put it back together. So that's the end of day 1 of cleaning your instrument. And next video will be about greasing it up and putting it all back together.